Lana Turner, one of the most glamorous women in the world, her handsome, dangerous boyfriend with mob ties, and her 14-year-old daughter, caught in the middle. One shocking night, the boyfriend is dead, and the daughter, Cheryl Crane, is holding the knife. How did a teenager end up in such a horrific situation? What really happened that night in Lana Turner's opulent Beverly Hills mansion? And how did Cheryl Crane not only survive this unimaginable trauma, but go on to build a life of her own? This is the incredible, often heartbreaking story of Cheryl Crane. Cheryl Christina Crane, born on July 25, 1943, at Hollywood Hospital in Los Angeles. Her mother was the one and only Lana Turner, a true screen legend. Her father was Joseph Steve Crane, an actor who later became a successful restaurateur. Lana Turner was known for her stunning beauty and a personal life that was always making headlines. Steve Crane from Indiana tried acting but later admitted he was a very poor actor. Their marriage was pure Hollywood drama. They met in 1942, married super quickly, but oops, Steve's divorce from his first wife wasn't final, so that marriage to Lana was annulled. But then, Lana found out she was pregnant with Cheryl, so they remarried in March 1943. It didn't last though. They divorced about a year after Cheryl was born. Despite all that, Steve Crane would remain an important and often stabilizing figure in Cheryl's life. Cheryl's entry into the world was dramatic too. She had a near-fatal blood condition at birth. Growing up, Cheryl described her early life as being famous at birth and pampered silly in ritzy Bel Air. But pampered didn't mean stable. Much of her childhood was spent with governesses and her grandmother. It was reportedly a full year before Cheryl and her mom even spent any time alone together. Lana's demanding career and her string of relationships meant she was often absent. Even as a toddler on set, Cheryl learned not to mess up her mom's appearance, prioritizing her mother's public image over a kid just being a kid. But things took a much darker turn with her stepfather, Lex Barker, famous for playing Tarzan, whom Lana married in 1953. In her 1988 memoir, Detour: A Hollywood Story, Cheryl made a shocking allegation that Lex Barker sexually abused her repeatedly, starting when she was around 10. This horrific trauma, happening under her mother's roof, added another layer of profound distress. Lana Turner's initial reaction, according to Cheryl, was oblivious denial. Other accounts say when Cheryl finally told her, Lana confronted Barker with a gun before kicking him out. They divorced in 1957. The abuse itself was a deeply scarring event for Cheryl, fueling the emotional turmoil of her teenage years. This unstable and traumatic environment was the backdrop for the tragic events that were about to change her life forever. The night of April 4th, 1958, Good Friday, is the event that defines Cheryl Crane's youth. At just 14, she fatally stabbed Johnny Stompanato, her mother, Lana Turner's abusive boyfriend. It was deemed justifiable homicide, but it cast a long, dark shadow. Lana Turner got involved with Johnny Stompanato in 1957. He was a former Marine with known ties to organized crime, specifically Mickey Cohen's syndicate. Their relationship was notoriously explosive, intense passion, violent arguments, and Stompanato's extreme jealousy and physical abuse. Once, when Lana was filming in London, Stompanato, in a jealous rage about her co-star Sean Connery, flew there and threatened Connery with a gun. Stompanato got himself deported. The abuse continued. Lana claimed Stompanato had drugged her and taken compromising photos, possibly for blackmail. Just before his death, Stompanato assaulted Lana after she attended the Academy Awards without him. This was the dangerous man in their lives. On that Good Friday evening, Stompanato was at Lana Turner's Beverly Hills home. A massive argument erupted in Lana's bedroom. Stompanato was furious because Lana wanted to end their abusive relationship. He allegedly made horrific threats to kill Lana, Cheryl, and Lana's mother, and to disfigure Lana. Cheryl, in another room, heard the violence. Terrified for her mother's life, she ran to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and went back upstairs. As the bedroom door flew open, she saw Stompanato advancing towards her mother with his hand raised. Cheryl stated, "I raised the knife and he walks right into it." Stompanato reportedly looked at her and said, "My God, Cheryl, what have you done?" before collapsing. An autopsy confirmed he died from a single knife wound. Cheryl called her father, Steve Crane, Lana called a doctor, then her lawyer, the famous Jerry Giesler. Police Chief Clinton Anderson reported that Lana pleaded, "Please, let me say I did it." Cheryl was taken to the police, booked, and held in juvenile hall. A coroner's inquest on April 11, 1958, was a media circus. Lana Turner gave a dramatic, emotional account of the abuse. Cheryl's written statement asserted she acted because Stompanato kept threatening her, and I thought he was going to hurt her. After about 25 minutes, the jury ruled the killing a justifiable homicide. Cheryl Crane was legally exonerated, but this was far from the end of her ordeal. Being legally cleared didn't bring peace for Cheryl Crane. It was the start of a very turbulent period. The trauma of that night, on top of her existing vulnerabilities, led to what was reported as rebellious behavior. After the inquest, Cheryl was made a temporary ward of the court and later released into her grandmother's care, with mandated psychiatric visits. But her difficulties continued. In March 1960, she was placed in the El Retiro School for Girls in Sylmar, a boarding school for girls who were wards of the LA County Court. Her time there was stormy. She escaped twice by climbing a 10-foot wall, only to be returned. Later, Cheryl was released from El Retiro into her mother's custody. Lana, worried Cheryl was still suffering, sent her to the Institute of Living in Hartford, Connecticut, a psychiatric facility. Cheryl described this as being in a luxurious asylum. Her struggles were severe. She reportedly had issues with drugs and was arrested for lewd conduct. The emotional pain peaked in 1962, when she attempted suicide while institutionalized. The years right after the Stompanato incident were a crisis period for Cheryl, played out against public notoriety and institutional confinement. After those incredibly tough teenage years, Cheryl Crane began the long journey of rebuilding her life, finding stability, pursuing her own career, and forming lasting relationships. A big step was working for her father, Steve Crane, at his famous Polynesian restaurant, the Luau, in Beverly Hills. She started as a seater and later said, "It took the restaurant business to get me out of my shyness." This was clearly crucial for her. Her interest in the hospitality world led her to study restaurant management at Cornell University. A pivotal moment in her personal life came in 1970 when she began dating model Joyce Josh Leroy, reportedly introduced by Marlon Brando. This relationship proved to be a lasting and incredibly stabilizing force. They were still together over 35 years later and eventually married on November 14, 2014. In her memoir, Detour, Cheryl shared that she came out as a lesbian to her parents as a teen. Her mother, Lana Turner, eventually came to accept her daughter's identity. Understanding it was Cheryl's story to tell. After the Luau closed in 1979, Cheryl and Joyce moved to Honolulu, then San Francisco. Cheryl embarked on a new career as a real estate broker, and as of 2011, was living in Palm Springs, California, continuing her successful real estate career. In 1998, she faced another battle: breast cancer. She underwent a double mastectomy, radiation, and chemotherapy, and successfully overcame it. A really significant part of Cheryl Crane's adult life has been her work as an author, sharing her personal story with incredible candor and exploring her creative side through fiction. Her 1988 memoir, Detour, A Hollywood Story, co-written with Cliff Jar, was a New York Times bestseller. It was her chance to tell her life story in her own words. The book recounted her upbringing, the complexities of her famous family, the shocking sexual abuse by her stepfather Lex Barker, and provided her personal narrative of the night she killed Johnny Stompanato, emphasizing she acted to protect her mother. Detour also publicly disclosed her identity as a lesbian. The memoir was generally praised for its honesty, with The Washington Post calling it a story of horror and healing. 20 years later, in 2008, Cheryl published a second memoir, Lana. The memories, the myths, the movies, a more celebratory look at her mother's life and career, filled with photos and personal insights. She also wrote a series of mystery novels featuring Nikki Harper, a celebrity realtor turned sleuth whose mother is a screen goddess. Clear parallels to Cheryl's own life. The series includes The Bad Always Die Twice, Imitation of Death, and The Dead and the Beautiful. The relationship between Cheryl Crane and Lana Turner was a real Hollywood epic itself, full of deep love, profound neglect, shared trauma, and eventual reconciliation. Cheryl's early childhood was marked by maternal distance. Films like Imitation of Life, which Cheryl felt mirrored her own painful experiences, initially made her feel colder toward her mother. The Stompanato killing added immense strain. However, the publication of Detour was a turning point. Cheryl recalled Lana eventually understanding it was Cheryl's story to tell. A particularly healing moment came in adulthood when Lana finally acknowledged and thanked Cheryl for her actions on that fateful night. Cheryl said this belated acknowledgement was like being hugged by the greatest hug in the world. Despite years of turmoil, they achieved a measure of closeness in Lana's later years. By the time Lana Turner passed away from cancer in 1995, she and Cheryl were reportedly close. In her later years, Cheryl Crane has continued to live a life defined by personal stability and professional success, primarily in real estate in Palm Springs, alongside her wife, Joyce Josh Leroy. She has selectively participated in documentaries discussing her life and her mother. The killing of Johnny Stompanato remains a subject of intense public fascination. Recognized by Time magazine as one of the 20th century's most notorious crimes, there have been multiple attempts to dramatize the story, with a new feature film reportedly in development in 2023. Cheryl Crane's memoirs have positioned her as a significant first-hand chronicler of a specific Hollywood era, offering an intimate view of its glamour and its darker undercurrents. Cheryl Crane is more than just a figure linked to a Hollywood scandal. She is a survivor who forged her own identity and achieved a